I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Conlon, would you please call roll? Good evening, board members. President Wolcott? Here. Vice President Mason? Here. Board Member Sprague?
Here.
Board Member Unbrick? Here. Board Member Dillinger?
Here.
Let the record show Board Member Dillinger is participating via Google Meets. We do have a quorum, and enjoy your work study.
Thank you. Our next item is the agenda review and acceptance. Dr. Griffin, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I do not.
Board members will need a motion on the agenda, please.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
Motion by Mrs. Maison and second by Mr. Sprague. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, the board will have a work study session led by Miss Barbara, is it Uren?
Yes, it is.
She's from the insurance company titled The Trust. Welcome, thank you.
As Ms. Uren's getting settled, I have to disclose that we know each other from the past. Ms. Uren and I probably have known each other for at least, I maybe shouldn't say, 25 years, I would say at least. Ms. Uren was the superintendent of Cottonwood Oak Free School District for 10 years before retiring, and I guess this is retirement, semi-retirement, I would call it, and working for the trust, also a hearing officer, and probably dabbles in a few more things that I So it's such a pleasure to have you here with us tonight. Thank you.
I thank you. Let me make sure my voice is a little off tonight, so hopefully, I want to make sure that Mary Ann Dillinger, Board Member Dillinger, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, if you can't, I'll kind of keep an eye on Christine. So if you're telling me that you can't hear me, I'll make sure that I'm using a clearer teacher voice.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, well, let me give you a little bit of my background. Thank you, Christine. That is me. I'm an Arizona girl, and I've been in the Verde Valley since 1970. I was raised in Scottsdale. Both of my parents were teachers, and so my first classroom was the neighborhood kids, and my first desk was the air conditioning unit that sat outside of our house. So I have a real passion for public education. I'm a true believer that public education is necessary, and it is the service that we provide for our democracy so we can bring children into adulthood so that they can take their rightful place in our great country. So I'm a believer in public education, and I'm an advocate for the work. And I cannot thank you enough for putting your names in the hat and coming together as a governing board. Tonight, I hope to do a little inspiration for you. I hope that you get some facts. I hope that you see some processes that you might want to take a look at and some structures. I'm going to share some communication processes with you. I hope I spark your curiosity. But more than anything, I hope I plant some seeds that you'll go back from this and just ponder on those things. Some of the things I say you might not agree with, which is fine. We won't agree on everything. But that's the beauty of governing boards. So if you're ready, I hope we have a good time tonight. I'm looking for participation because people really like to participate. And so we'll have some opportunities for you to participate. Okay? Okay, let's get started. Where's my clicker? Everybody's hoping I know how to use this clicker. So we're going to look at two components to building a dream district. The first component is really focusing on what is a dream, what we call a purposeful district that doesn't happen by chance. You don't just trip into it. And key two is holding fast to the distinct differences of the roles between you and your superintendent. So first, let's look at a purposeful district. We have 6 leaders here today. All of you come in with different experiences, backgrounds, beliefs, values. And all of you have a little bit of a different dream. You have some similarities, We always have some small groups. But you come to this table with this wide background of skills and strength and individuality that now you've been put on a board. So how do you take the differences between each one of you and the great things that you have going on and bring those together as the collective good for this school district? That's our job, is to bring you together and have you work as that leadership team. I'm a true believer in a leadership team. And that leadership team is built with the governing board and the superintendent. That's where that leadership is. Everything that happens up here, it filters right down, all the way down to students. So when we think about our boards, we want you to develop into a professional board. That's not easy. It takes work and it takes time. So before we get started on that, I'd like to just hear from you how long you've been on the board, what your name is, as I meet you too, and also why. Why in the world? You asked, why did Steve King go out and put his name in the hat for the county superintendent? Well, why did you put your hat in the ring to be a board member of Humboldt Unified School District? Can I start with you?
Yes,
Thank you.
my name is Sue Unverricht, and this is my first month on this board.
Oh, another
It's
first.
just recently elected. And I guess through the campaigning process, my passion is really to see us be different from what's happening in the environment all around us, which is that, we just saw another report with NAEP or something like this. It's just not acceptable to have 65% of our students at grade level in math and 60% at grade level in English. So I hope to provide leadership, that we can be different from the world around us, and we can see our students achieve at much higher levels than what we see at the state or the national level.
Okay, I'm going to you. Thank you for sharing.
Leon Bazan, and I've been a board member for 2 years, says newbie as well.
Can't
Newbie-ish.
say that. Yeah, at some point we have to give that up.
Still learning, but I'm a mom who 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess, started the campaign process, saw the direction of where the schools were headed, and decided to throw my hat in the ring, and here I am.
So some direction. Thank you.
I'm Brianne Wolcott. I have also been on the board for 2 years. I'm a mother of 3, and my objectives, well, of course, I want good things for my kids, but for all kids, I saw a waning in patriotism. That was kind of a big thing, a little heartbreaking to see. So I want to kind of lift that patriotism and pride. The students if they earn a good grade, they have that pride. That's something that I've seen wane too, kind of leaning on that victim mentality a little too much in public education, I've seen. So we're steering away from that, and just getting back to the basics with good grades and good reading scores, good math scores, and raising well-rounded children.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
How about you? You went into
Oh.
leadership. I'm getting there.
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
Maybe you should go before me.
No.
I would have to say that I became an educator because of the students, and I became a leader because of the teachers. Because we know that teachers are the deciding
you really get it. And I'm a great indicator of that because, let's go back to horses. My husband was a horse trainer, and so I always had horses. He always taught me how to tie that horse up to a pole, and I'd walk away, and pretty soon, there goes that horse, walking that thing. By the 23rd time, I'm trying to tie that horse, and what I realized is just like kids. You're adults, but you are going to continue to learn. And you're, as a board member, that's not going to come just overnight. Those that have been on for a while understand that. And when I first take a job, it takes me 3 years to really feel like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then we fine tune and we keep that. So my first wish for you is you continue to get any kind of training you can. Because you'll hear different people speak, and different things will resonate, and then clarity will start coming. So just keep yourself out there. But when we look at those indicators, number one is having a clear vision. So we have lots of vision. Setting goals. Focusing on student achievement. That is why you are here, is student achievement. Building positive relationships throughout the district. Connecting with your community, using your resources strategically, and monitoring this progress using data. This is the methodology that you're going to use to really apprise things, and we'll look at that. So how we keep that information going. Promoting organizational stability. That starts at the top. You start the system. So we're going to talk about how we can do some of these things. When we think of positive relationships through the districts, I think about respect. You have, how many staff members do you have? Approximately.
Almost 800.
Okay, so 800 people, how do you build relationships with them? Well, it's being visible. I heard somebody's going to go to a game or something that's coming up. You're visible. It's being respectful. It's having integrity. It's having trust. That's how we build relationships. We get to know each other. We start trusting each other. We're willing to put just a little bit more over there, a little bit more. I trust you have my back. I have your back. So pay attention to our 7 indicators and just keep that as kind of how are we reaching these as a whole.
Is it 8? It's 8.
Well, 8, thank you. Will we put 8 up there, please, next time? I will.
I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between building positive relationships throughout the district and connecting with the community? Or maybe you're going to get into that.
No. Well, go ahead and ask questions. I want you to ask questions. So connecting with community is also all the way through, and how do you have those strong connections? And we'll look at resources, using the resources effectively, and what are the resources in your district? So you're going to find that when you connect with your community partners, that's going to help you also as a district. So making yourself available for connections within the community, the greater community as well. So what is a purposeful district? So this graphic organizer is by McCrell. McCrell's work is grounded solidly in research. McCrell, probably 20 years ago, the country was divided into 4 areas for laboratories of education. McCrell is the Western Laboratory. So it's a mid-continent research laboratory. So this is their work, and you can find a lot of work from McCrell that talks about and helps districts improve their district. So when we look at a purposeful district, we can call it purposeful community, purposeful district, but it's surrounded by 4 areas. And notice all of them center on here. So you have to have all 4 areas to truly have a purposeful district. The first one is outcomes that matter to all. And that's moving towards a district where we can accomplish outcomes only because we are together. If we're all out there trying to do 5 different things, you will not hit a target. You will not end up with increased student achievement or increased opportunities for students. So you can consider the word outcomes a couple different ways. You can consider it pillars, you can consider it core values, so there's just different ways you can look at that word. But it's when you agree upon what is it that's the most important things for us to accomplish in this district. So an example of outcomes that matter to all is the Thai flooding. It was a cave, and the kids, there were 12 kids and their soccer coach, and they were celebrating, but they were also kind of doing an initiation where they go to this cave and they do this thing to celebrate. And so the kids all go into the cave. They've been there before. They go about 2.5 miles down into that cave. A torrential rain came, starts filling up the cave. The kids cannot get out. The coach cannot get out. They are stuck in there, 2.5 miles back. It's discovered because the kids don't come home. So the parents, the mamas are all saying, where's my baby? And they start asking each other, well, they went on this, they went on that. Well, that's where they were. So the first thing that needed to happen, they need to get these 12 kids out. How are they going to do it? So actually the governor is a true leader. He put together a team to create a rescue plan for these kids. They had 10,000 people coming to help with this rescue across the world. People were coming. Even Elon Musk, he said, well, let's put down, we can put the submarine down. They did not use that, but everybody was there to help. So how do you talk about herding cats? You know, you had every cowboy and every maverick out there trying to say, well, do this, do this. But that leader chiseled that down with that team into an operation that saved these kids. So they had leadership, they had the rescue plan, they had qualified rescuers, they were risk-taking. One diver died. So it was by any means. They went through areas that were so, none of these kids could swim. And they went through areas that you could not put your head above the water, because the rock. So they had to consider the risk-taking, and they had to make it safe for everybody as much as they could. So they had, what was their outcome? To rescue 12 kids and the coach. It was clear. There was nothing else that they were going to focus on. Those kids were going to lose their life. They did not. Well, you have, and I knew it. Did I do it? Oh, there we go. Guess what? You have Gunnar Lindon Jackson Murray. I want to read just a little bit about these kids that you have here. You have a great thing on the website. You have this weekly thing of good news of kids. And I just go, oh, look at this, look at how I pick. Well, you have Gunnar. He's preschool. You know what he loves? He loves music and dancing. Gunnar, preschool. He's happy. He's joyful. You have Luna. She's first grade. She's joyful, but she's respected. And she's a hard worker who helps other kids in the classroom. You have Jackson, who's a middle schooler. Jackson has a positive energy. I can imagine that positive energy. I bet he's just boom. And he's brilliant. And he has so much to be able to give if it's tapped in correctly. And you have Malaya. She has May, thank you. She has a strong work ethic. One of the things I love about her is she has insightful questions. So that little curious mind that's asking questions. These are your 12 kids. to you, and that's what's so exciting to me about being a board. Don't get stuck in the minutia, we'll talk about that later. You're a board because of the vision and direction, I heard that word. And I heard lots of dreams that you guys have. You are here for that purpose. And when you really say, that's what we're gonna do, and you put it together, now you're gonna have results. I see districts who can do it. Most districts, ladies and gentlemen, don't have it. And I work with districts from Yuma, La Paz, Mojave, Yavapai, and large metropolitan area with big districts down there. Some have it, most do not. So I'm moving there, but I'm not moving.
No, I moved that, don't look at that one. I'm moving that
That's good,
one.
I'm glad you moved it. Okay, there we go. So, I want you to stop for just a minute. You talked about a lot of different things at the beginning, but now on your own, I want you to think about, and Marianne, do you mind if I call you Marianne? This is what I look like. Hi.
That's fine. Yeah, no, Mary Ann is fine.
Okay, thank you. You won't have the block, so you can just do it on a piece of paper. But I want you to think about your district. And I want you to think about what 3 pillars would you want your district to be built upon? Either a tiny little phrase or a word that represents that. However, I get to get my toys out. You can pick either red or yellow and pass one on. Christine, you get the next one. Actually, you know what?
Do you want me to write Dr. Dellinger's down for her?
Right. So you have a block per, I know it's not easy, huh? This is the beginning start.
Is it outcomes? Is that what you meant?
It's like an outcome, yes. What do you
So
want
like
it to
an
be?
objective?
Let me tell you, here's my deal.
What does she mean by the word?
My husband and I did this activity. I love my husband for many reasons. He's my chauffeur. He's my, well, he was fixing my collar today. He's my Christine saw it. So we played this. Not played it. I said, well, what would you want? Well, what do you put? Openness. Clarity. And I said integrity. And I said academic experiences. So I thought, well, let's see, is integrity the same or part of clarity and openness? Maybe. So what is it that we want for your district? And you don't have to make it too difficult, because this is beginning work of what you will be doing. So it's just for you to kind of see how tough it is to get things down of what you think you want for your district. Because Christine is going to take it to the next level at a later time with you. So just take a few minutes, be free, have fun with it. and
Do we
write-
write on the block?
Yep, they're your blocks. You're gonna get to stay with
What you
Christine.
want me to write?
What you value for this district.
Oh, okay.
Oh, with Sharpies, you can get a Sharpie.
I gave you a too.
transparency, and then pioneering approach. So what I mean by that is we're not afraid to try new things. Like we have the CTE programs, and we're constantly revamping and adding new things. We have the Project Momentum, so we're not afraid to try new things here. And I think that's important for the kids because times are changing, things change, the world changes, and we have to change with it to an extent to make sure we're not stale. I wish there was one more if I could just add, and that would be school safety. Like that's another one, but we're really good at that. So
No, that's okay, just keep that tucked in your brain, because things can
Yes. Okay, so I have my top school and parental partnership, and so that's just bridging that gap, making parents feel like they can come to the schools and be a part of their child's education and informed and just that partnership, just like together, the principals and the parents are one, and they can have that communication and know what's going on in the classroom. And then academic achievement, which I feel like we've all hit on, just like Sue alluded to, the NAEP data and just how hard it is, especially for Arizona, and just kind of raising that bar. And then I want our district to be the ultimate choice. I don't want ESA to be villainized. I want it to be accepted because it is a really huge school choice for like Phoenix districts and stuff. It's a huge help for them and those students there who's, they're allowed to choose whatever school district they can be a part of. I'm rambling. But anyway, I want us to not be afraid of school choice, and I just want HUSD to be the ultimate choice for everybody because we do try new things and we have massive academic strides and we offer, different programs and stuff to our students. So, ultimate choice.
I have to piggyback off Liana because actually that was one of my campaign platforms and it's something I frequently said, which is that I want the neighborhood school to be the de facto choice of folks in the neighborhood because it's such a beautiful thing. And that's what it was for me personally and for my children, and I love that to be just, when somebody doesn't choose their neighborhood school, everybody's wondering what your thinking is. But I guess I was thinking more from a board point of view, so I want to fulfill my duty to citizens and pupils, which as I'm reading like Title 15 and I've been listening in a bit on the legislature as they've been coming in to bail out Isaac Elementary District, and so it's not lost on me the responsibility that we have fiduciary and others to deliver. So our duties are very serious. I want to provide organizational stability so that everybody can, I never want to be I don't want to be really a disruptor. Even though it's good to try new things, it's also good to have stability because that's where,
Growth happens.
yes, and then of course delivering, increasing student achievement, and one of the things I think about also is progress over perfection. So,
What was that?
progress over perfection. Yeah. So, if we're just making iterative changes and we're seeing growth continuously, that's also a beautiful thing.
Okay, here's what's kind of fun. I heard some things that were very similar. I heard some things that could probably be chunked together. I heard some inspirational things from all of you. Your question now is, and again, this is just a little tiny picture of the messy, wonderful work you get to do. How do you put it all together? And I gave you, you're the only one that had different colors. I gave you the same colors. That's cheaters, because now I know, let's see, who was orange? Oh, yeah. Oh. you have a system in place to hold her accountable. And that's part of your job, we're talking about. So Christine, these are yours. And if you want, you can put them on the board tables and they can write other things on the ones they didn't fill in yet. So thank you for sharing with me and sharing with each other on all those different dreams you have. And put all those dreams together, and what happens? Humboldt is the choice. People will come knocking at this door. So let's,
That's my dream.
if that's your dream, okay, wrong, there we go. Okay, now, your second one, we talked about outcomes that matter to all. That's what you just did right there. We started brainstorming what those look like. So what we look at now is collective efficacy. That's a great thing. And that's the belief from all of you that you can do this work. And you can do it because you're together, you're focused, and you're in agreement upon what you're doing. You have an outcome. You know where you want to go. Now, collective efficacy, when you guys demonstrate that as a board, guess what happens? It filters down. Because then the work's going to be down here from the administrative level of how do we build collective efficacy. Because, folks, I can tell you, you have teachers that are in a classroom that don't really believe all children can learn. Or they don't feel like they have to put the time in or risk how they do things to make a difference for that child that needs something different. So collective efficacy goes through the whole system. The other piece that comes with that is it's the kids. The kids have to believe that they can do it. Let me give you a great example of that. I heard opportunities, I heard accountability, I heard trying different things. So here's a personal experience, and I stayed out of it, and rightfully so. But let's talk about opportunities for kids, because I've heard that in a lot of different conversations. So here's an example of what do we truly believe. Opportunities for kids. So I have a 8th grade student. Now, our district was a K-8, and you had a high school district. So I have a K-8, I have an 8th grade student who wants to take high school algebra. And the high school was letting kids come to the high school and take high school algebra. This kid wanted to do it. Well, there's a system to it. The kid had to pass a test. So the kid takes the test, doesn't quite pass it. So they tell the kid, no, you can't take it. Why the heck would you do that? Now, just think about it.
Because he wasn't ready for algebra?
Who's to determine that?
Well, I mean, yeah, the test determines it, right? That's what you're testing for.
Let me
If he's
tell
ready.
you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happens. He did not take it. When he went to high school as a freshman, you know what he started with?
Algebra 1,
Nope.
geometry.
Oh,
He studied at home.
Nope. We put limits on kids, is all I'm saying. Careful how you limit kids, is all I'm saying. Get your brains open to the possibilities. If somebody wants to take the risk, I'm gonna go back to horses, okay? Sorry, it's a good one.
Bruce and I can relate,
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah,
We all
a
like
kid
horses.
wants to get on the horse.
We like horses.
Or an adult, and they've never done it. Well, they don't know how to put their foot in the stand, and they don't know how to do this. I'm not gonna say no, and I'm not saying that it's everything, folks. I'm just saying that about you killed this kid. He didn't miss it by leaps and bounds. I would have never gotten to do anything if he based everything I did on my test, quite frankly. That wasn't my skill set necessarily. My skill set's in other ways. But to allow kids the opportunity to try something. Had the child taken the opportunity to try and said, I cannot do it, it's too hard, I'm just not ready, I need my basics, I'm not strong enough with my basics. Okay, great, thanks for trying, kiddo, let's get you back fun, you know. And I think I am over my head. So, God bless Yavapai College, I went back and started basic math again and built myself up. But I tried it. So the only reason I give you that example is when we think about our kids and truly believing that all kids can learn, let me step out, because that's how we learn too. Collective efficacy, that sense that we all believe that we can do it because we're all on the same page. Collective efficacy comes out in the very top of what makes a difference for children in the research. So we have a lot of good things in there, but when teachers truly believe that they can make a difference, can make the change with children, then you're going to have success. Think about how we grade papers. Red line, red line, red line. Here, you missed these. Why don't we take those papers? Here's what you did right on this math problem. Here's where you started losing it. Let's do this one again. That's a whole different way of looking at it, how we score things. What is collective efficacy? It's that perception and belief. All of us.
Going backwards.
Going back.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys told me. What? It's also holding on when the going gets tough. The work that you guys are going to do is not going to be easy. People are going to be yelling at you. And you have to have that fortitude. Hold on with your life. So do the teachers. They're going to hold on when the going gets tough with that kid. It's modeled from up here at the top. Look at this. There it goes. Agreed upon process. I love this one. Where did I had it from Mary Ann on those organizational and Sue. Organizational stability. This is working agreements. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about it later. But that's a process and processes that lead to a pattern of communication, relationships amongst your community, the school district, and a sense of well-being and a sense of order and discipline. So when they went into the Thai cave, they had working agreements on what those divers were going to do. They made the plan, they made the statements, they all agreed on what they were going to do. That way they could take the dive and take the rescue mission. So they didn't go off on their own. They couldn't be a maverick here. They may not have agreed with it, and they may have wanted a little something changed, but they had to come to agreement on how they were going to do this operation. The same thing again happens here. You have to come to agreement on how you're going to do things. So let's look at an example of that. So they're created for a specific purpose, and you can have working agreements. Well, I think the classroom. Classroom has working agreements in the class. What are our expectations on how we behave in the classroom? Kids talk about it, they write them up, they all sign, we all agree to that. And then they go back to that and say, okay, remember what we agreed to as a group? Working agreements are like that. They provide guidance for us. So here's an example. Let's think from a board level and superintendent. Is it your expectation that the chain of command should be followed? Do you expect the teachers to follow the chain of command?
Yes.
So what does this look like? What is following the chain of command really required? We can all say, well, I think this, and I think this, and this is what it should be, but we never define what that looks like. So your idea of following the chain of command is military, and so it might look a little different than my chain of command. So we have to define what we're saying on our working agreements. superintendent will know this. You actually kind of know it. Everybody has a program change. You cannot walk anywhere. The grocery store has a program for you. There's a lot of thousands of great programs out there. You can't use them all. And how do you know which ones that you utilize? When you have your pillars or your values and your goals, when that is created, then the resources you use focus on that. That's how you can, it gives you guidance on what resources you use for moving that outcome that matters to all. So we have tangible assets, those are our leaders, you're a tangible asset. Now, your leadership could be something different. People look at you as a leader, but now do you actually put that in practice as being your leadership? Curriculum, you have curriculum, but is it aligned? Am I, used to drive me crazy, am I a third grader in this district and my parents moved to another school, third grader at Coyote Springs, okay? Now I move over here to this school. Am I somewhat in the same area of the curriculum, or is it way they passed over here or way back here? Is there a disconnect? Does not mean that every teacher is mirroring each other and they all look alike and sound alike, but it does mean that we have a guaranteed aligned curriculum. That's, it's intangible to the curriculum. District strategic plan. Hopefully you'll have and I don't know, you might already have one, but yeah, is it being implemented? Are you being reported on how the measurements are happening with this plan? Community resources. Well, we have them, but are we partnering with the community? If I use your words on what you did with the parents, you said one with the team student, you said the teacher, the parent, and the student all working together as one. Well, now that's an intangible, great partnership. So those are the things that we look for. We can say these are important to us, but how do we address these? So our first part here is really looking at the work it takes to become a purposeful district. If you don't put the work in, you'll never hit the targets of where you want to go. Do you have any questions or comments on this first section? Marianne, anything from you that you might want to ask about or resonate
Nope.
with you? Okay.
Would you restate this as becoming an effective team? That's what this is, to my mind. It's just how we become an effective team.
You?
As opposed to a purposeful district.
Yes.
So becoming an effective team, I think the purposeful community is from the McCrow research.
Ah.
And so that's why it's a purposeful district, not a problem.
Okay,
So
it's similar.
becoming an effective team.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the same thing.
it is. It is.
Because it means like effective means like effective to our purpose, right? Yeah.
I like
And
that.
with purposeful district, you're looking at those, how you're utilizing those four components.
Yeah. This is like board development. That's what we're talking
So-
about.
Oh, yeah. When you mentioned about from one kid going to a different
This is
school,
not
now,
recorded.
it would be much more difficult if one of our students will say elementary school, go to Prescott School District because they might have a totally different plan over there than what we have over here. Or they went to different states.
You have third grade standards, but they may have a different curriculum.
Right,
So
right.
kind of assessing where that child is if they were to come to you from Preston. You'll have some similarities, but you won't have the same tight alignment that you do.
With
with
the
your
other
other
schools,
schools.
yes.
Correct.
Be more difficult for that student to move to a different district.
Okay. I am going to give you, who would like to read? Do I have any volunteers to do a quick read for me?
Mary Ann wants to.
Nobody does.
Okay, give it to her. Are you going to do it? Okay. Okay, this is a scenario called, So Christina's going to read the scenario to you, and then we're going to talk about what do you do?
Thank you.
Board member action, there will be no bullying. You hear some negative things from a friend who is a parent of an 8th grader. According to the parent, bullying is happening a lot at the school, and there is nothing being done about it. You tell the parent that you will investigate. You call the principal to ask to meet with him the next day to discuss this issue and how it should be addressed.
Okay. So we have a parent, according to a board member, walks at your door and says, this is happening at the school. You know, they're your friend, and you say, well, let me look into it and I'll take care of it. So they call the principal. What are your thoughts?
It's not our place to call the principal. I would call Dr. Griffin.
Yeah, that's.
I wouldn't go straight to the principal, that wouldn't be appropriate.
I would advise the parent to talk to the principal.
Okay.
I don't really want to every interaction I have on my phone, to be honest, because it's like 5 of us hearing things from people, and if we dump everything we hear on her, it's too much.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that I would go with Christine, because I think more or less the chain of command, but I do agree with what Sue said, that I think the principal should be involved, because I've had cases where I was at the high school, and I was always tell a parent they had a problem, that they need to go see the teacher. It was involving sports, and I said, you need to go see the teacher first, and then the principal, and then, but that was as a teacher, not as a board member, so maybe it's different.
I think it's both though, because you'll appreciate knowing,
Yeah.
right? Especially because things will snowball on social media
That's true.
very, very quickly.
So like, maybe at least letting you be aware, so-and-so is this or that, I said, go talk to the principal, FYI.
Yeah.
So right there, what you just did, which was very interesting, is you started talking about the different ways you would handle things. That's one place where you can say, what are our working agreements? Because everybody's gonna be a little different. And so superintendents are different. Some superintendents will say, yes, go right to the principal, and I'm not gonna worry about it. Some, in a big district, that's what they're gonna say, or go here. So we need to remember that working agreement on what you're gonna do. So going to the principal, the parent, the board member going to the principal, not a good idea.
No, because they're not under our
No.
leadership, they're
And
not our.
it usurps her authority, and it puts the principal in an extremely uncomfortable, awkward position. And then the other thing, if you keep hearing that about the bullying, talk to your superintendent. It may be that you want to bring the bullying policy up and review how the processes have to do with the bullying policy, because there's policies on these things. So when we start talking about roles and responsibilities, where you need to think about is all about, there are nuances, there are shades of grades. This is not open meeting law, which is bam, 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 and I hope everybody's had that, and have it again. But there's nuances to it. So you have to use your better judgment. You have to think, and we'll talk about it later, as we go through roles and responsibilities, that there's always these little nuances. So scenarios are really great ways to have conversations as a team. How do we handle these things, and what would be our working agreements on this? So here we're going into holding fast between the distinct differences between your role and her role. There's a process. I love processes. I love systems. I love structure. I love organizational stability. I love all of that because I always feel like if there's a flaw, if there's something that's going wrong, I don't have the right system in place.
That's exactly what I thought when you said that story about the algebra kid. It was a flawed system.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I love about how this is structured. team here. So I'm using the analogy of building a home. Does anyone, you have some background in engineering.
What's that?
You have background in engineering.
Right,
Anyone in construction or, I don't.
construction is
Yeah.
there.
So there's a process in when we build a dream home, or we build something. So that's how I'm breaking this down. And this is your graphic organizer, where you get a handle on how this process of building a dream district works. You're a public body of a political subdivision. Humboldt School District has a political subdivision, right, right here. You're an instrument which the residents of the school district exercise political control over the public school. You were elected, you're elected officials. So here's the beauty of that to me. Sometimes that sounds a little scary, but what you come in with is part of your job is a pulse on the community. And you all have different, you're all in different areas, spheres of different people. So that is, you're elected to that position. This is the key one. You could star anything, highlight. You only have power when you're in a legally called meeting as a governing board. You have no power as an individual. So as soon as you dismiss this meeting and you walk, as soon as she dismisses, your power is all gone. You're just a regular civilian. And don't go meeting out there in the parking lot and talking about something that's coming up on the next agenda. So again, no authority as an individual. That's the Mavericks. And I have a lot of Mavericks I'm working with to help them see how they can bring what's important to them into the conversation with their colleagues that they work with. So examples of your individual. So when you're not in a meeting, is prepare for board meeting, collaborate well with others. Don't be dysfunctional as a team. And from what I hear, you're not, which is good news. Some are. Have a basic knowledge of the policies. As you kind of come on, you don't know what policies are out there. And you think, oh my gosh, is there a procedure for this? Well, I can tell you there is. And it may be a good conversation to have. What policies do we want administration to bring back to us so that we can kind of get a grasp of what the procedures and the structures are to those policies? That's a great thing to do as you start coming into your positions. The laws, and avoid using that board member's position for political gain or other purposes, not relevant to the district's education or other operations. If your purpose to get on the board, and I did not hear that from any of you, is to go on to another political thing, and this is the only reason you're joining, that's not the right purpose. Now, it's okay that as a board member, you say, I really love this work I'm doing. I may go at a later time and do something. But right now, you are elected for a job. And it was Luna, Gunnar, Jackson,
Maylee.
That's why those 4 kids are waiting for you. Go find them. Focus on the actions that are best for the district. You all have certain things you want. But you have to take a step back then when you start thinking, I want this open or this open. And your opinion may be different. And you have to take a step back, better judgment, what is best for the district and the education of the students we see. This next one is an interesting one because I have a lot of board members struggling with this one now. Render all decisions based on the available facts and independent judgment. Her job is to bring you the supporting documents for you to make an informed decision. Now, here's what happened in one district. The district board member was at home, board member's packet was there, the board member's friend came to have coffee. Sorry about that, Marion.
No, she's over there.
Oh, she's over there.
No, never mind.
To have coffee, and the board member gives the friend the packet. So the friend can peruse the packet. What's wrong with that?
friend who is not on the board.
Correct.
Yeah, everything is confidential
Correct.
in the executive. There are some materials that are posted publicly, but then there's executive materials, and that's for the board only.
Absolutely, that's why it's posted, that's what the agenda is for public, but there's materials, and that is not you are rendering the decisions. And folks, nowadays, this is, school board members were always not in place. There is a reason for that, because we serve the public, we serve every child that's out there, trust me. You have every language, and you have every different background, so we serve them all. But you may have had a group that's supporting you, and that's fine, that happens. There's nothing wrong with it. But if it's not them, somebody's going to be knocking at your door to try to get you, give an opinion, and I expect you to do this and this and this. And that pressure can be daunting. So you have to be strong enough and have the integrity to step back and make your decision based on the available facts, documents you have that best serves the district and the kids that you serve. Vote and act in board meeting. You have to vote. Don't say, no, I'm abstaining. You were elected to vote and take action. Accept the will of the majority. You are not always going to agree. And some things you may feel passionately about that didn't get approved. Well, if you go out of here, out of that meeting, grumbling and say, that was the worst thing ever, you've lost that focus, remember, on how come it matters to all and the collective efficacy. You know, you may not agree with it, and it may not turn out once it's implemented, it may fall apart. Well, I see what you're saying. Well, that's going to come back. But right now, when that vote is taken, and you're not on the, with the majority, you have to just suck it up and move forward, supporting the vote. That's democracy. So you guys, this is why you're so much fun. You get the good stuff. I'm big picture. I love the vision. You get to set the vision and direction for the district. So you are the architect. You think about that home. What do I want the dream home to look like? That's you. And who is it the cool place to be? You have 4 functions. You have a legislative function, executive, appraisal, and quasi-judicial. The first one is your main function, and that has to do with policy-making aspect. And you have full legislative authority and control of the school by adopting policies, revising, and act on those things that are not covered. You create those policies. In your packet now, you have on the left side, you have a couple things that are going to come up that have to do with the legislative function. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. You have ARS 15341. That is the things you shall do. Now, if you really look at that, there's 43 sections in there. And when you start reading them, you're going to go, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to go open a bank account. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to create the policies, and we have those in place, and you're supposed to monitor that things are being done correctly. And then in ARS 15342, those are your discretionary powers. You don't have to do those things, but you can. An example would be transportation. You don't have to provide transportation, but you do it because it's best for kids. So here's some examples of things that you are required to do. Set policy for curriculum and the criteria for graduation and promotion. And I heard a lot about that with expectations, student achievement in this conversation. What's the curriculum that's going to help support that? Disciplinary action against a teacher who engages in misconduct. That's your responsibility. Defining the duties of the principal and the teachers. That's your duties. You have policies already created on those for review. Know what you've got. Example, I talked about that, requiring students to wear uniforms. Your responsibility under the legislative umbrella, this is an example, you have more, but number 1, making sure that they are enforced, that they're equitable to everybody. I'm not gonna enforce on you, because you and I are really good friends, so that you know, man, I'll come down hard. So making sure that we're doing things equitably. You approve the budget and the revisions. You don't go into the weeds on that, that's brought to you. And that's a real complex one, we'll talk about in a little bit. Prescribe the curricula and criteria for the promotion, approve curriculum materials. Those are all things that you're required and examples of what you do as a collective board. You can't do any of these alone. These are not individual responsibilities. Your executive function is pretty simple. You best in her the ability to operationalize everything that's in your policies. All the rules, all the regulations. If we were to print your policy handbook right now, it would be about that fact. You give that to her. That is her responsibility to operationalize that to you. And you have the authority to vest that into her, which you don't. So here's our communication process for the legislative and the executive function. It starts over here with you as the governing board. Oh, it does do that. Woo-hoo. The skill you bring is the vision, that policy, direction, the oversight. You then goes to the general contractor, who's your superintendent. We'll talk about her in a minute. Her skill is to operationalize that and execute everything you asked her to do. She then gives a lot of that to her principals and the directors and their area of expertise. So they implement the policies and the superintendent's direction. So remember, this is all coming from you, down and across. Let's use across. Across, all the way to our staff. And they align it into their classroom, food service, whatever that might be. So the communication, governing board to superintendent, principal, and directors to the staff. The appraisal function, I love the appraisal function. And we've not spent nearly enough time in training boards on the appraisal function. That is your function. So when you think about that, it involves the determination of the efficiency of the school operation, the district, and the evaluation of the educational programs based upon the policies and the directions you've set. So how do we implement those things? Two ways. You think about that strategic plan, you are going to be reporting back on how you're making progress based on the data, the methodology of using data, and so you will know how you're making progress, what might need to change. Boards get out of control when they don't feel like they're in the loop. So superintendents want to build that form of communication with you to identify what is it that you need to be apprised on or want to be apprised of. So apprise the implementation of your policies, your collective vision, aligned to your strategic plan. You apprise that. Apprise what you measure. You really, it's hard. There's some things that's just information, but if you're going to make an apprise on something, we need the data that goes with that to say, yes, we're making progress. We're not quite there yet. Oh, we've got a lot of work to do. That's why we need to use data. Avoid micromanagement. A lot of times we think appraisal is, well, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about that? I have one district that the board member sent the You have to say, okay, next year, what are we gonna be apprised of? Let's put it on the calendar. This month, this month, this month, and this. So it's spread out. So you know, oh gosh, that's coming up next month, I can't wait to hear that. And maybe you feel as a group that you're not getting enough information on something. Say what that is, talk about it as a group, and get it out there. That's our job as a, work function, as a board, to apprise how things go. So, the communication process for appraisal, your other function. Well, the teachers taught the class. Facilities has gotten the grounds all ready and made sure the gopher holes were filled. They report that to their director or their principal. The principals and directors have been monitoring them. They know what's going on. They've got the information. They send that right up to the superintendent. They meet as an admin team. And they talk about, well, how are we doing here? How are we doing here? How are we doing here? She creates that report on those things, and who does she take it to? Right back to you. So you're never out of the loop. She's never out of the loop. She's got thousands of things coming at her at one time. Fortunately, she has Danny to help keep all those things going, keep her going, so that she can focus on what the outcomes that matter to all. The students receive. Your last function is quasi-judicial. And that is the fact that you will be conducting employee hearings. You may do a student hearing, you probably have hearing officers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you would do a student hearing if the recommendation was for expulsion, because only you can expel, no one else. So this is your quasi-judicial. This is important, because if you start messing in and getting to know some employee-related matter, when that comes up possibly to a board, you have to recuse yourself because you've been biased. That's why you just stay out of things. And we'll look at that a little bit later. So your core function is legislative, policies, visions, direction, big picture. Executive, delegating that to your superintendent, your appraisal, evaluate. And then that quasi-judicial is not used much, but you've got to get ready for it. So you want to be at here. How's my time? Is this all right?
Yes, ma'am.
So is that a half hour?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's do the here. Who wants to be my reader?
I will read.
Who? You have a long one.
Oh, my.
Oh my.
Did you see mine? You want to be the heroes. You kind of like visiting the schools. You get a sense of what is going on, and you get to build relationships with the staff, especially when you just show up unannounced. You start going every week, and the staff starts coming around you more. At the last visit, an employee starts to tell you about an employment-related matter. You are always supportive of staff, and you want to show support, so you tell the teacher that you have a few minutes to listen, and you'll see if you can take care of it. The teacher states that the principal doesn't treat her fairly, the principal doesn't like her. She says she has just had her evaluation, and the principal stated in the evaluation that she needed to improve her classroom management. She also says she has been in her mentor teacher's classroom and that her own management is every bit as good as the mentor teacher's management. Till you will look into it. You go to the principal and ask the principal about this teacher. The principal thanks you and tells you she is working
to school, what do people see you as? A board member. So it puts everybody on notice. You're not their friend. You are part of the team. But you have to be very, very careful of it. And I don't want to say that you are going to end up friends with different staff members. But you have to remember, this is an issue that is interfering with the procedures and policies that this district has, because this was one of my districts, not mine, one I work with now. You have a policy for teacher evaluation. And that principal, you put the principal in an awkward position again, and the principal has no right to talk to you. That's private. That's an evaluation piece. That, and then that it's going to come, and here you are now, and here's this coming to you as a board member. That board member has to recuse themselves because they are biased on what happened. So, again, better judgment. How we use that judgment, that's your key word. Okay, my best judgment on things. To the nuances. Now, visiting schools, there's nothing wrong. We want you to have a pulse of the schools. But those can be arranged in different ways. It could be that I used to do monthly tours of different schools or different programs within our schools. That way board members could come, get a feel of it, and maybe they wanted to look at one thing. You have special interest in one thing. I had one person who was very interested in one thing. So I set up a time where the principal could take and show that program to them. So it's not that we don't want you at schools. Nobody's hiding anything. And if you see something at school that causes concern, you just call the principal or superintendent and say, you know, I saw this, just wanted to let you know. And then you forget it. Let her take care of it, and she will probably report back to you something about it. So don't be the hero. Be a good board member. Be a good leader. Okay, so you now passed on. You have the legislative. Now you're doing the executive. You pass that on to your general contractor. That the role of them is administration of the entire system, educational, operational. They serve as the executive head. They supervise, either she supervises the directors and the principals, and then she delegates their supervision to the people that they want. Enforcing all of your policies, making sure that those regulations are followed. She's constantly conducting the appraisal herself so that she can bring that back to you. So she keeps you continually informed that the cycle is always going on. And she's going to recommend policies to you, changes. You are going to take those and kind of tweak them. And she reports directly to you. One of the other things that I loved about my board, and I had a number of them, but they all serve this role for me. I am a big picture person. I get really excited. I'm kind of like a change magnet, and I have to be really careful that, and I'm very much systems. So I'd say systems is my strength. But even within systems, I can hear, I can just, like a chocolate chip chewy cookie. Oh, it just looks so good. I'm ready to just kind of go out there. My board was always great at helping me set the sail. I kind of went over here and let's do it this way. And then just help get that sail set back. So you serve a role as that leadership team for your superintendent. So she's going to pass that and have her directors and her principals execute what you told her to do. She's going to make sure that they're doing it. They, again, administer and supervise, and they report directly to the superintendent, not to you. That principal, like you said, you're not over them, she is. And then what these folks do is they take it to the staff. I love this group, because you know what one of the greatest places to hang out is? The bus stop. They change over time. I love one board member I had, she'd come in, she was very opinionated, and you knew it, and you'd hear her, she'd say, this is hard, and she'd go on and on and on, and she'd always come and speak first. And then the rest of the board, the president was great, made sure that every person gave input. And you see her kind of, well, I've changed my opinion now, because she heard the opinion of other people. That's why you need to engage in the dialogue. Feelings, I don't think you have feelings in relaxation. Personal agendas, this is huge. It's huge across everywhere. And it's easy to get into. We get our own personal agenda. And it's not that what you want to put out there at the table isn't important, but as we saw, there's a way to do that so that you can have that voice, but you focus, remember, not on yourself and your own agenda. You're focused on the entire district and every one of those 5,100 children. And then we can have a really good plan in place, and then somebody says, well, I want to do this instead. Well, great, and then he said, well, I want to do this instead. Well, that's not the plan. The plan is here. Now, generally a plan, if you have a strategic plan, generally that's going to come back to you, and work is going to be done at that every year, so it's a living document. It's not something that just sits on the shelf. There's perception that your role to solve problems. We're all problem solvers. You're all leaders. And so, yeah, you want to be helpful. You want to be a hero. You want to be supportive. But it isn't our job. And so we have to be very, very careful that that's not your role to solve problems. You're solving the big district, the oversight, the big picture. There's no working agreements. If we don't know what we're agreeing to, you're going to have chaos in the district. And that chain of command, the communication, is not established for everybody. So that we expect the same thing from our entire group. What that leads to is the micromanagement, and I can tell you, it kills superintendent. We have so many superintendents leaving the field because boards just can't leave them alone. And they're just constantly like sheepdog trying to move. And it's really, folks, it's really hard to be a superintendent. I don't want to offend you. I don't want to offend anything. And so you go and you're that board member who went to the school and talked about the teacher. I don't want to have to call you and say, Bruce, could you come and talk with me? Or, how about we have coffee? And gently tell you, it's really not your work. That's a hard place to put myself into. It is. And so you just need to be aware of the things that we do and how we use our best judgment. So,
It seems like that if the superintendent has a good working role with the board president, it is more the board president's role to speak to the board member that is out of line than to make the superintendent do it.
I would agree.
So, I mean, I think that that's a really important, as you talk about boundaries.
I think when you talk about working agreements, you need to have that conversation. Because I loved being, I had a great board president on one group, and that person would, I could call and say, you need to talk to you, it's out of control. Because really, think about it, you're elected officials. You monitor each other. I try, if I'm in a meeting and I see you going off on the agenda and nobody's catching it, I want to protect you. And I don't want you to get an open meeting violation.
Right.
So I might say, Madam President, I think we're getting a little off topic. That might happen.
Especially if you have This is my second meeting, so I don't even.
Oh, good, you're not off topic. We're all on topic.
President, you are fine.
No, I totally
No, you
do.
agree, correct? That if
I
somebody
totally
was
do.
getting out of
Yeah.
line.
It's
and-
like not something I would look forward to.
No,
but yeah.
you
Yes.
could do it for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I have stuff for board presidents, and we're looking at doing a board roundtable, so we can talk about it. But it comes back to, you guys, you need to control each other, because you're elected officials. I really don't have any power over you, superintendent doesn't have any power over you. And so, think about how you do this, and that's why it's all important conversation. Trust issues. If you that's micromanagement. I mean, you've got a system in place to watch and apprise them. So trust. And when you lose your integrity, so I think about when we talk about building those relationships even with staff, is your integrity. That's all we've got. And we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to apologize. But you've got to trust each other. You've got to. That confusion, the chain of command, undermining the chain, undermining your principals, your superintendent. They know the rules. They know what they're supposed to do. What does that lead to? When there's micromanagement, there's poor morale. You go home and you're beat up and I gotta go tomorrow, do it all over again. And Sunday they're calling me, they're still calling me on Sunday, on Saturday. You know, poor morale, litigation. You know, my work with the trust is to keep also boards out of litigation. I don't want you to be sued. There's, you know, from open meeting law, the violations that can happen. Scottsdale Unified. Look up Scottsdale Unified. It's like they can't stay out of it.
They're terrible.
But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is what every one of you has said. That's student achievement. So when we have dysfunction here and not following our rules, it's going to end up dysfunction all the way down, and the end results is students. So you need to think about your best judgment in every action you do. And you need to have an elevator speech. So when people come to you, because they will, they may not have it, but they will. So you need to think of, what am I going to say? So here's just a list of things, and the ones I love is, it may come before the board. That's an easy thing to say. You know, thank you, they're going to stop you. And also, there's a procedure for this. There's protocols for this. There is a chain of command. It's all there. So you have the structures within this district to take care of all of these. And it keeps, I have one for it. My last slide, that was my last slide. Nice guy. He started on board a couple years ago, small, tiny district. And he has this little secondhand store, great little secondhand store. I go there and shop all the time. Just a little tiny. And it's got this wonderful creaky screen door snaps against it. And it's got a little bell. So he puts his name in the hat to be a board member. I said, I'm going to fix bowling. Remember there was a little thing we did on bowling? I'm going to fix bowling. So that's his kind of platform on why he wants to do everything. Well, he gets elected. Well, so people would come into the store and say, well, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And so then he gets elected. Well, because this guy gave the open door, come and tell me, he gets elected, now struggle was how do you take 10,000 people from all over the world and get them on the same page? So,
Exactly.
yeah, really there for the working agreements. But you're right, it is 5 individuals, and America does operate differently.
When an
However,
individual
you
is
as a
assigned,
district can set the tone of how you want to operate. That's your choice on how you decide to operate.
I have a comment. Are you done, Mary Ann?
no, I'm just saying that that's why I'm saying.
Yeah, it's true, it's true.
This is so, that it's harder than it looks because of.
Yes, it is.
Personality.
It is, Mary Ann. It is messy. You have to be committed to the work.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. And it's not, here's the other, I think you and I talked about it just a little earlier. It's not gonna happen overnight. Yeah, so what can we accomplish this next 9, how many months left, 4? What are we gonna accomplish this next 4? You're gonna have to chunk this out on the work that you do. It is not gonna happen overnight. Either you're committed to it or you're not committed. But if you think, oh gosh, we're just gonna tell her to do it, that's conversation with you guys, and that takes commitment. So
No, that is so true. Everybody, this Congressman has been very good information you brought us, and I just want to say thank you. But one of the things that I don't like in school boards, and it's not just ours, but, you know, my husband was on the school board, is when it becomes like the school board show. Actually, I'm glad we're not going to be at the, honestly, when we sat on the stage, it felt already to me like that, like it's the school board show, and I'm going to just, you know, like a passive, performative leadership where we have like, you know, I liked this already, but we follow a routine and we don't actually have authentic discussion with each other. And so I feel like for me personally, to have a good board experience, I do want to have robust conversations as board members, and I'm happy for the public to hear that. I have a really strong need for authenticity and transparency personally. So I guess that's kind of a dream that I have about our board. More authenticity, more robust conversation, obviously, with respect and politeness and all of that. But, I mean, I would hope that we are 5 people and we do not always agree 100% of the time on everything we're discussing. And if we do, then what's the point of us? So that's just one of my other things I would just like to say in this training.
I think your point is really well taken. And there's a couple reasons where I've seen what happens is, you know, you're right, we get up on this big dais, here we are, and you have this whole audience, and you have advocates for this, advocates for that, and what are they gonna think of me? You say, you go, oh my gosh, you have to somehow in your brain say, okay, you know, I have a trick, when I get ready for something that's gonna be tough, clench my back teeth, take a big breath, okay, new me. I have to put that out. It is a public meeting, but it is not the public's meeting.
Correct.
It's your meeting. Now, another thing too that's often helpful, I said it a couple times, well, let me stop. I was at one meeting one time when they knew it was gonna be tough. Well, they literally changed their positions. They actually had their backs to the audience. And so that they took away that pressure here so they could have the dialogue. The other thing, you know, really hot topic, which there's not a thing wrong with doing a study session on that topic. You're not making a decision, but it allows an opportunity to really look at all those different documents and the pros and the cons and, you know, talk about it. You don't, it's not a straw poll. So I'm not having this in a study session and kind of
It's just an
judging.
honest conversation.
Yeah. But it helps you, it takes away some of that pressure, but you have to be bold enough to be having good, constructive dialogue with each other in meetings. And if you have to just go, okay, public's not there, and keep the focus, or, you know, whatever that might look like, you have to do it. Because you are the elected people. You're not the people out there.
before the meeting. So a lot of questions aren't answered in the public because they're done in the background. So as number one, not to put the person to embarrass them, like put them in a position where they have to answer something that requires them to do research on their own. So a lot of the discussions that I have happen in the background as opposed to in the public, which I don't know if that's a good or a
Well,
bad
yeah,
thing.
here's what you're having discussions with,
Here's how-
with Christine in the background. You're not
Here's how you-
discussions with board members in the background.
Here's how you handle it.
And so there's a lot of like the celebration stuff. There's anything problematic sometimes that is, you know, stuff that I do the independent research and kind of get my answers in the background. So maybe that's one reason there's not a lot of the discussion. But the hard discussions, I don't think we have any issue. We haven't had any issues having those, the contentious or the more hot topics. So we
Our
definitely
protocol, we
discuss
have a
those.
protocol for that. I don't want to be caught off guard, I don't want you to be caught off guard. So if I send my agenda out, and we changed when our agenda was gonna go out to other board members, it pushed me to try to get everything together so that I can meet that deadline. And now you get the agenda, and there's an item on there that you need clarification, you just don't get it. So the agreement is that you're going to call me with the question before the board meeting. I'm going to, let's say it's a budget question. I'm gonna go to the budget manager, or director, and I'm gonna say, what about this? He's gonna get a response for me. Now, when I have that response, I send that back to the whole board, and I send it in a blind copy, because if you ask the question, you might have the question. So it's not that you're having the dialogue so much,
Right.
you're having the question. Now, another thing,
You're confirming the facts.
yes, so another thing that I had one board member who really struggled with, the board agenda. So she and I would go to lunch, and we'd talk about the agenda informally, and she'd ask questions, and, you know, she'd say her opinion. I think that's fine too, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not straw polling, nobody else is there, it's not open meeting violation. She's learning to be a great board member. So there are ways to handle those things, but again, it comes back to you have to agree how you're going to do it. So now when I go to a board meeting, I'm not caught by surprise and asking a question. I look at the business manager and he's going, I don't have that data on me. Now we all look stupid.
Right.
And I don't want you to look stupid. I'm going to do everything I can so that you look like the most brilliant person in the world. And
My question is, if you had an issue and you got the agenda and you saw this, if that board member's already talked to another board member, then I'm not allowed to go talk to her about my issue, correct?
well, what is an issue or a question?
A
That's
question,
what-
a question.
The
If it's
goes to
questions
her.
regarding, oh, okay. I got it.
Yeah, the question goes to
Okay,
her.
okay. I didn't want to get that clear.
Yeah, so I wouldn't, because she won't have the information.
Right.
She'll have, be able to get you the
Okay, so
information.
go to
Yeah,
Christine.
yeah.
But I get why that might, it seems like it's like rubber stamp.
You
And we're all
understand,
just
yeah.
like, oh yay, everything is great, but there's like background for
She's the
sure.
referee.
Conversation.
And that's
For
what,
sure.
you know, I love it when there's a.
But I also see like the public perception,
Yeah,
because
you
I've
do.
been on the other side too, and it
That's-
does appear that way, where it's just like, we say yes, and
That's
it's
why you
not.
want some.
There's always, there's so much more to it. And another thing, like, if, I've done this before too, if I do a bunch of research and I contact people, instead of like going through and like grilling the person in the public eye, I'll say, well, because you open it up for questions, right? So like, does anybody have any questions? And I'll say, well, you already answered all of my questions. We went over this, we went over this, we went over this. And so that way the public knows there was discussion. That doesn't always happen, so maybe. you know,
But that's why for your role, we do each board member. Anything you want to say on this, further you want to say on the agenda item. And you can even say, you know, the supporting document was great, I have a clear understanding of what was going on, so I think I'm ready to vote. You know, so you're not telling how you're going to vote, but you can, you know, refer to those things. Or I just want a little more, and it's okay, because there is that certain thing, it isn't a rubber stamp.
It can appear that way.
You
and
can't,
I get that.
hopefully as a superintendent, you've done enough homework that your recommendation is solid. But you do want to have
she's been very outreaching to us. I don't know if all superintendents do what she does, but that's just my personal opinion. I think that we're gonna be fine.
I hear that you didn't like how the board behaved where you visited. So that's a good thing to keep in your mind.
Right.
On how you.
I wouldn't want to do what they were doing. No.
If I can also just add to that, that's part of my, and I didn't go so much into it, but part of my pioneering approach, Cube, is I don't want to do everything Chino does or everything Prescott does. I want to be humble.
Right.
I want to do things that maybe they're afraid to do or they don't want to implement in their district. So I know we're going back to that, but I just wanted to add
That's
because that
okay.
jumped.
I agree.
Well, right, things which make sense for the, again, like with doing our duty, things which make sense for the unique population that we're
For
serving.
sure. Yeah, well, and like policies that have been brought up. And that not
Yes.
necessarily have been passed, but policies that, you know, I think, I want to have the courage and, you know, that pioneering approach to.
It's a fun
For
word.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to see, watch your progress. And I have to say, I do know that you have great leadership. And I feel like it too. I know her work.
I agree.
So thank you, Christine, for allowing me to come and share, and good luck to all of you. Mary Ann, thank you. I hope you get a nice sleep and a great cup of coffee. Thank you for joining us. What a champion.
Right.
Thank you so
Since
much.
you're in Spain,
It's getting
I
really
just
late there,
guess,
Mary Ann.
I guess
You
those
don't
guys
have to
eat
go
like
quite
this,
yet.
right?
The meeting's not over.
Oh.
Sure, thank you very much. Yeah, so we have, an item to vote on.
Okay.
It's item 4A, and that's to update the regular board meeting location. We're gonna change it to this room. It'll remain the same in terms of time. It'll still be the second Thursday at 5:30. It'll just be here, so any motion on this.
Make a motion to have it here at this facility.
Is that acceptable? No. Okay, so do you have it up? No. Okay,
Just transportation.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I move, let's see, where is it? Here we go. I move to approve the regular governing board meeting to be moved to the Ridge View Room located on the Pronghorn Ridge Middle School campus, transportation building.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by me and second by Ms. Mazzone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Oh, second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Mazzone and second by Ms. Lundberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, yes. None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.